Anyone ever called a bathroom wall number? Story 1. Naivete and a sense of rebellion do not mix well. When I was about 10 years old, I decided to start referring to myself as a teenager. Sure, I might have been a few years shy of legitimately qualifying for the label, but I didn't care. Being a teenager was an attitude, and I had that attitude in spades. I did my best to act aloof and independent, and if ever there was an opportunity to showcase my grizzled toughness, you could bet that I'd take it. I'd stay up past my bedtime, play video games without asking permission, and sometimes, if I was feeling especially bold, I'd eat with my elbows on the table. I was, in a word, a bad one. That was why when I found a message reading, "For a really great time, call XXXOOOX and ask for Lupe" on the wall of the public library's bathroom, I decided to write down the number and give it a call. Now, you might be shocked or disturbed to picture a 10-year-old boy proposing an anonymous phone number for spicy time, and rightly so. I didn't actually know what the F word meant at the time. The bathroom graffiti could have read, "For a really great goddamn," and I would have had the same reaction. I was vaguely aware that the F word was a naughty word, but beyond that I was clueless. For all I knew, Lupe was going to tell me a dirty joke, reveal a dangerous secret, or maybe just recite a particularly inflammatory monologue. Still, I knew it was going to be good, and more importantly, it was a teenager thing to do. Upon arriving back at home, I asked my mother if I could use the phone. I told her, in true rebellious teenager fashion, that I was going to call one of my friends. Little did she know that I was actually about to get a really great smash. After getting permission, not that I actually needed it, of course, I hid in the back corner of my closet and dialed the number from the bathroom wall. A few rings later, a woman picked up. "Bueno?" In my deepest and most gravelly voice, which probably sounded something like a Muppet with a cold, I replied, "Yows, I'm calling about that really great time." Keep in mind, I didn't know what to expect, nor did I speak Spanish. I assumed that "que" meant okay, and that was meant to guide the exchange forward. So I said the only thing that came to mind. "I've had a lot of great times, so this time better be the greatest." And the woman who had called was undoubtedly, I was being so rebellious. "And the impression by it? Que?" she asked again. I was at a loss. Was there some sort of protocol to be followed here? A code word of sorts? Well, that must be something loudly declared. Unfortunately, my mother had chosen that moment to walk into my room. "Max!" she yelled. "What did you just say?" To make a long story short, I had my phone privileges revoked and I was grounded from video games for a week. I was disappointed and upset to be sure, but I kept a quiet sense of triumph too. After all, I might have gotten my time from Lupe. You ever seen a younger sibling do something you know is just going to blow up in their face? You could warn them not to do it, and yet it's just going to be so funny when they do. You think to yourself, this could just be a learn-by-doing moment. And you think it's better just to say afterwards, "And what did we learn?" It doesn't sound like this kid learned a thing after this, though. I'm sure he found out later what everything was supposed to mean. Story 2. This isn't a phone number story, but it is about having something written about you on bathroom stalls, so it seems appropriate here. My friend Nina and I were drinking at our favorite bar last summer when, out of the blue, she demanded, "Give me a Sharpie. I'm going to write something dirty about you in the girls' bathroom, because that's the sort of impulsive thing Nina does when she drinks." "Sure," I say, and hand her the Sharpie. What she wrote was, "Employee number 5 is so good it hurts." Now, it's useful to know that in place of employees, I actually have an unusual first name. It's not very common and often considered cool, and I usually get compliments and/or questions about it. Point is, you're not very likely to meet another employee number 5 in our city, or most places. So my first name on a bathroom wall is still both memorable and very identifying. As we continue to go out as frequent drinking buddies, Nina continues to do this to every bar we visit, or sometimes just out on her own when she thinks of it in one of the girls' stalls of each establishment. After more than a year of her little bar hobby, every major drinking spot or nightclub in our city now has it, depending on how often they scrub stall graffiti and she has redone some, as well as when we're traveling and visiting friends in other cities around the country. On at least a dozen occasions in the last year since she started this, I have been introduced to or started talking to a woman who, upon hearing my uncommon name, will say, "Oh my God, are you the employee number 5 from the ladies' room?" Or, "Are you employee number 5 so good it hurts? I see that everywhere. My girlfriends and I were saying we have to find you someday." I always say something along the lines of, "Oh geez, is that still there?" A silly lady friend of mine writes that. I won't lie about it, but they usually don't ask much either, which leaves things kind of mysterious and ambiguous. Regardless of what they ask, it is always a good flirty conversation starter. No one takes it seriously, I think, but it does start things off in a humorous and semi-spicy way when it's come up, and it lets you begin meeting someone with a little bit of weird infamy of sorts. Nina says this is her way of wingmanning for me, as she's too lazy to do anything otherwise. And definitely works when it's actually recognized. And this person has never come across anyone who's taken it seriously? I could see this going so wrong in other circumstances. I think this is definitely the best case scenario of this situation. I'm glad it's getting her out and meeting new people. Story 3. A friend of mine called for a free BJ called Terry, XXX, etc. A deep voice picked up and laughed at our proposition, then hung up. A few hours later, he got a call back from a soft, lispy voice asking, "This is Terry. Are you ready?" My friend then set up a meeting with Terry at the mall. Except he gave the name of another friend, Kevin, who was a manager at a sub and sandwich place. Being a good friend, he let him know that a smokin' hot babe, Terry, was going to come by and introduce herself later. Later, the manager retold the encounter as follows, sans curse words. Milton from Office Space walks up toward her and says, "Hi, I'm Terry. Are you Kevin?" Orders a foot-long with extra meat and mayonnaise. He keeps asking if my name is Kevin and if I'm ready. I point to my name tag several times and answer yes. When it was time to pay, he asked, "Should I wait here?" Or I told him he had to pay first. I didn't suspect anything weird until he sat down about 15 feet away and started deep-throating the foot-long and licking the mayo. I didn't leave until security asked him to. Didn't read? When you call bathroom wall numbers and set them up with your friends at work, hilarity ensues. And this is how your friend gets kidnapped, then gets wind chimes made from his genitals. Oh, this was really cringe, just all around. I'm glad this guy stayed put. I think Kevin is thinking of all sorts of ways to pay back his friend's generosity. That's the next story I want to hear. I'm glad this situation went weird and not dangerous. Story 4. One night in Austin, Texas, a few friends and I were at a local bar for a night out. I had to use the ladies' room. I walked into a stall, sat down, and saw a phone number written on the side stating underneath, "Curse you, Katie. You're an absolute shrew." Naturally, I whipped out my phone and proceeded to dial the number. At this point in the night, I wasn't exactly in a normal state of mind, so I let the ringing begin. No answer. Oh well, she'll never know. I wash my hands and head back out into the bar. A few seconds later, I get a return call from the mysterious stall number. I answer and promptly ask, "Is this Katie?" She says, "Yeah." I simply informed her, "Someone thinks you're an absolute shrew." She immediately flipped her lid and began inquiring as to who I am and who I'm speaking for, etc. I drunkenly inform her that while I was in the restroom, I read a note and simply dialed the number, reasoning that she deserved to know. She couldn't understand me due to the noise in the bar, so she starts cussing me out, hangs up, and starts a text war. It's on. After berating me via text, I calmly text her the information I tried to convey over the phone. She finally understood the intended message and proceeds to curse me out again. She stated, "This must be Jacqueline, or one of her loose friends. Either way, get over the glaring fact I stole your man." Too long didn't read? Katie is an absolute shrew. In all fairness, the person who wrote it did warn you. Story 5. When I was in high school, there was a number in the boys' locker room. It was a girl's name and a number. Most of the guys ignored it. But then my friend and I added it to our contacts list because A, cellular phones were just becoming affordable for teens, B, We wanted to see who would pick up when we called. We agreed that we weren't going to call during school hours, so we were going on Saturday. We forgot. Months go by, and my friend and I meet this server at a burger stand who tells us that she goes to our school. She gives my friend her number, and what do you know? It's the locker room number. At first, we chalked it up to being a coincidence. Maybe it was an old number and she just got it. But no. Same name, same number for so many years. Later on, she told us that her ex-boyfriend was a jerk and that he wrote her number all over town when they broke up. But she got back at him when she emailed his parents a picture of him snorting dope off their dining room table. Too long didn't read? Number in locker room belonged to a decent girl who worked at a burger stand, and her ex was a dope-snorting jerk. Must burn so bad every time that jerk pees. Story 6. My friend put my number up in the ladies' room bathroom, and for about 3 weeks, every Friday and Saturday without fail, I would get calls around 1 a.m. of drunk people doing their best to be clever on the fly. It resulted in a cache of pretty funny voicemail messages. To get her back, I posted a random image of breasts I Googled on Craigslist, with text saying something along the lines of, "Big, beautiful woman looking to try out my first threesome. Interested parties send pics. No strings attached." And then posted her phone number, and didn't allow emails. It resulted in about 100 peen pics, and her phone ringing off the hook until I took it down an hour later. Man, I need to start planning for April Fools now. My friend's sister posted an ad for a free llama with her phone number on it. She got calls for weeks asking about the gender, size, and nutritional requirements of her llama. I was a little worried there that free llama did not mean free llama, but something else. This also goes to show that doxing was a thing even before the internet. We just had bathroom walls and Sharpies. This one was all sort of harmless fun. I'm sure there are many other situations where it's ended up being a little more dangerous. Story 7. I used to know a gay guy. He was a mentally unstable man-tramp, and he would put up his number like this. I know because he was a friend of mine for a while, and I was taking a dump and saw his number on the bathroom stall, in his unmistakable handwriting. He had a fetish for giving straight guys oral spicy time, which made for some interesting email exchanges that sometimes would get shared with me. Reading an exchange from some guy who didn't want his girlfriend to catch him, or for anyone from the football team to find out, was kind of a laugh, as he ended every email with, "This is going to be the last time." The guy later went on to burn down my garage and refused to pay for any of the damages, even after a court order. So I try to avoid him and would recommend not calling those numbers, as the person on the other end either didn't leave it there or is mentally unstable. Story 8. One day, I received several vulgar text messages from an unknown number. After discovering that the sender was a gay male and informing him that I was female, he became considerably more polite and claimed that he'd found my cell phone number in a men's restroom at the college my ex-boyfriend was currently attending. Now, whether this was one of my scumbag ex's friends, and my ex had simply given him my number to mess with me, or whether it was legitimately written on the bathroom stall, I may never know. I didn't know any other males at the school at that time, so I was unable to verify the story. Regardless, the messages stopped and I never received any more. "I want to shove my peen in your dirty little tramp butt and finish on your face." "Excuse me, this is Sarah. Who is this?" "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. You have a good day now." Story 9. I work at a Chevron gas station, and there is one number in the men's room. I text it once a month just to check up on them. It's been a few years now. They still don't understand. What do you say? What do they say? The number is written in between tiles by the toilet, and when I texted them the first time, they asked who it was. They said the manager at Chevron. I was a cashier at that time, and they didn't text me back. Then a month or so later, I'm taking a dump while working, and I'm like, I wonder what this guy is up to. So I just went ahead and put it in my phone as Chevron bathroom guy, and from then on it became a thing. I text him, "How's it going? How's the wife and kids? Is it hot lately?" He'll respond with anywhere from a, "Yeah, sure," to, "Who the hell is this?" I haven't hit him up in a few weeks. I'll text him and see if he's still around for you guys. Edit. Just texted him. I'll keep you posted. Well, this one is just kind of random. Does this guy ever inquire why his number is up in a restroom somewhere? Why doesn't he change his number? He must have a really good phone plan to put up with this kind of stuff. Story 10. Not exactly like this, but I have a related story. Some years ago, I was tripping on acid with friends and wandering around SF MoMA. We found a really cool piece of art that included a phone number listed as Home Office, so we decided to call it. Turned out that it was the artist's own phone number, and he answered. Told him we really liked his work and would he like to hang out with us. He wasn't busy, so he said sure, and we told him to come meet us at a nearby bar, telling him that we would be the ones carrying balloons with faces on them. He came and met up with us, and we actually ended up taking him home to a party we were having at our house and hung out the rest of the night. Cool guy. Surreal experience. No creepiness, no unaliving, no spicy advances. Everything went better than expected. Story 11. When I was working at Home Depot, I saw a posted phone number with something along the lines of, "Call for a good time." Usual stuff. So I decided to be a good person and text them and let them know someone had emblazoned their number on the men's bathroom stall. Turns out, she was the cashier I had been flirting with, and she is now my girlfriend. Not sure if you're happy or worried about your life choices. Story 12. I usually called people and told them I'm from the police, calling to inform them that they will be fined a large sum for ruining public property. Most people didn't think logically right off the bat, freaked out and started apologizing. Some girls who scratched their phone numbers into the backs of bus seats started crying and yelling in ungodly fear. Only once, one guy was completely calm and collected. Well, anyone could have written my phone number on there. I'm a popular dude. I'm from the police, and I'm typing to inform you that you will be fined a large sum for impersonating a police officer. Yeah, if someone's going to do this to mess with people, then people are going to call and mess right back with them. It's the whole scamming the scammers kind of angle. It doesn't sound like he's doing anything really malicious or dangerous. Just sounds like he's doing it more as a prank. Story 13. When I was about 19, decades ago, I began to get a lot of calls on my home phone from men looking for a good time. I realized after the 50th or so request that I had to try and figure out where these guys were getting my number. I let down one guy as gently as possible and then asked him if he would be a dear and tell me where he got my number. I thanked the guy, drove across town, and removed it from the bathroom stall of a local diner. Too long didn't read? Boring story about antiquated technology and driving. Story 14. Not me, but sorta kinda relevant. My cousin, who's around 30, called up a number he saw on the bus one day to tell the girl about the graffiti and that he rubbed it off. Anyway, they got to talking and they kept in touch for a while and eventually met up. This was about 20 or 11 years ago, and they've been together ever since. The story's actually far longer than this, but I'm already 1,500 comments late, so this'll get buried. But yeah. Story 15. My buddy had been dating a girl who claims someone wrote her number on the wall above a urinal in some bar. Apparently, someone called her inquiring about the advertised good time. She found it amusing and met up with him. When she arrived at his house, he had a male friend over, and they took turns with her all night, sometimes both at the same time. She tells this story laughing while my friend, her boyfriend, slumps into her seat and half-heartedly chuckles. Clearly embarrassed. Edit. Spelling. Wow. Glad I'm not that guy. It's clear these two don't see eye to eye on the situation. It's also kind of unusual that the number works as advertised. A good time was had by all who agreed to it, it seems. The girl seems much more open than the guy. Do you think that relationship is going to last or no? Story 16. I took driver's ed in high school. We were on a break and a guy called a phone number scratched into the table we were all seated at. He started talking to the girl who answered and had a fairly pleasant conversation. He asked her what her last name was, and he repeated it after hearing it. The girl sitting next to him knew the person he called and asked to talk to her too. She told the girl that someone wrote her name and phone number on a table at driver's ed. They laughed about it, talked about each other's day, and that was it. Story 17. I very drunkenly dialed one while pooping in a nasty bar bathroom. It went to voicemail, and I'm pretty sure I hung up before the recording started. I woke up the next day, looked at my phone, and saved the number in my contacts as some weird name. I don't remember what name I saved it under. I have 20 to 30 unrecognizable names saved in my contact list. It could be any one of those. I've had the same list for 10 years. Story 18. I saw a sign in a bathroom at the bar that said, "For a good time, call Katie." Someone under it wrote, "Don't call her. It's her mom's number and she's ticked. Will the mother have a good time too?" Ooh, involving family. Classy as always. This was either a very edgy practical joke or someone who was really vengeful about this person. Is the mother someone that can handle these types of conversations? Or are they kind of shocking to her? Story 19. I put my number on a Jenga title. Call 206 blah 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 to play Mahjong. To date, I have gotten 3 calls for actual Mahjong and 2 for Mahjong. The best pickup lines ever came from those calls, though. "I can scramble your tiles like Chairman Mao" was one. Story 20. Jesus writes, Frank. You're a psycho stalker. I ignore your text for 1 day and you post my Godzilla number on this website? Curse you. My stupid phone has been ringing constantly for the past 7 hours. Jerkwad, I'm getting a restraining order. Story 21. I used to write down the number of a Wendy's I worked at all over my high school with, "Looking for a hot and juicy time?" My bosses would get so ticked when some stupid old high schooler called looking for spicy time. This must not have been this person's favorite job. In a way, he doesn't lie. He's offering people a hot and juicy time. If these people want to read spicy time into that, that's their problem. Story 22. I've called one of them before. It rang twice, then went to voicemail. "Hey guys, it's Carly. Leave a message. And if you got my number from the Walgreens bathroom, go off." How do you know she spelled it Carly instead of Carly? Story 23. I know a few people who wore shirts that said #1 MILF Hunter. Call blah 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 for a good time. It was their friend's number. He got calls all night from the hussies. Story 24. For a good time, call 454-6300 and ask for Janice, is a perfectly formed haiku. Only if you pronounce the 0 as O and not 0. Story 25. I once saw one that said, "Looking for a good time? Call number here." And the number was the number for the local university. Nothing can beat the fun of knowledge. Story 26. Jenny doesn't answer the phone when you call 867-5309. Was disappointed. If it's a 401 area code, it's a plumbing company. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.